Welcome to Ditch Digger CEO. Christopher, man, we've got an all-star here today that we're talking to, my friend Trent Clark. Trent, welcome to Ditch Digger CEO.
Welcome, everybody. Good to see you.
Trent, we're blessed to have you today, buddy. You know, we interview some amazing people, and we're so blessed to meet. You have so many friends that have experienced great things in our lives. You know, today we've done this a little bit. We've had some great athletes as well on our show that are in business today or still coaching today. And Don Beebe is a friend of mine that we had on here about maybe a year ago, 8 months ago, something like that. Anyway. But again, a person that has led in his life, led himself first, and then led and coached many from the time he was out of the NFL and on. But it's a blessing when we can interview people that have understood how to lead themselves as an extreme athlete, and then coach, at a high level, at the highest level on any stage as you have, right? And then in business as well, right? So your mix is amazing. From being a leader in sports of yourself to be great at what you do in baseball, and then a World Series coach and the stuff you did to win a World Series, and then to be a coach of CEOs now. What an amazing story, and we're excited to hear it. So welcome, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, Gary. Always excited. And Chris, it's so good to be along with you guys. And I never got a chance to meet Don Beebe when I was in the Chicago area, but I heard about Don like all the time. And I remember I loved watching Don play his Buffalo Bills days, man. It was always fabulous, and you can't help for rooting for the little white guy in the NFL. He was just all over the field, like he was a little bit of a misnomer, but man, the guy he stood the test of time and did a great job. And a lot of impact he's had in that area, man. Coaching out at the small school there in the western suburbs, and he's had a lot of impact on a lot of people. So big shout out to Don Beebe.
Absolutely. Impact is the thing we talk about a lot in our show, and I talk about that with our leaders today, and I will in the future, right? And impact is all about, what do we do to make an impact in this world? What do you do to make a positive impact in the things that we're passionate about? Business and entrepreneurship is a big thing for us and myself and you. But what do we do if we love God? How do we make an impact there? We love family. What do we do there, right? And how do we make a positive impact in these things? And Don's an example of that, as you are, and we want to talk about that. So let's start though. Trent, I know a lot about you because I've been around you. I've met you years ago through our buddy Chris Kraus, I think it was back in the day, and really got a kick out of your story. And then to watch you and what you've done from sports to business and leadership, all the way around has been incredible. Tell us kind of where it happened, where it started all. Was it baseball and a great coach? Was it who were the mentors that said, Trent, you're scrappy son of a gun. You can be something. Who talked to you? Who inspired you?
Yeah, it's funny, Gary. You and I cross a lot because of mentorship, right? Like really, this was a big passion of ours, and that's where I think we really first crossed. And I think mentorship kind of comes back to giving back because all these people like poured into us, right? And so you start there. I'm a Battle Creek, Michigan kid, home of Kellogg's, and man, I wanted out, right? Like so, I got the entrepreneurial bug very early. I was a fifth grader and started delivering papers. And in sixth grade, they gave me my own route, and in eighth grade, I got 3 routes. And Gary, you'll love this. I went to football practice when I was in eighth grade, and I got 3 of my buddies to deliver each one of my routes. And I made about $5 a day delivering papers. And I paid them each $1.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. $5 a day with 3 routes, right?
3 routes, and I made about $5, right?
Okay, that's big money because I did the same. I was a newspaper. I talk about this in my show here and there once in a while, Chris, right? But paper route was where I started also at 10 years old, and I made $6 a week. So you had 3 routes bigger than my 1 route. And although you were a little younger than me though too, so I guess it's probably there's you probably made a little more money. Inflation happened, I guess, and you probably made more like $8 or $10 a route compared to me. But okay.
Yeah, it's funny, right? And so I remember so I played football for practice, and my 3 buddies did the route Monday through Friday. And so I paid them, of course, their dollar each. And each day I would make $2. So, Monday through Friday, I made $10 playing football. And the other people were doing my route. And then, of course, I did my route on Saturday, Sundays. And so, man, I was like, I'm like a pro, Gary. I'm like a guy who gets paid to play football because, and I got employees, and I'm thinking, man, like, I don't know if you know or not, I'm kind of a big deal here, man. I'm an entrepreneur, and man, I thought it was the thing, bro.
Okay. So Trent, what did that do? That gave you that confidence, man. I can make a buck. I could actually support myself someday. Right. And so in the same respect, I had my newspaper route and I mowed lawns on the newspaper route. Eventually I worked, with doing landscaping and stuff like that at 13, 14. And I hired my buddies to do the lawns. I still did my newspaper, but they did my lawns for me.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing. What did you learn? And what did I learn at a young age? Basically, you were the general contractor of paper routes. Okay.
Yeah.
You learn to be a general contractor, right?
Yeah.
And leverage other people to help you accomplish your goal.
You know what gave me so much confidence, Gary, was my clients, my customers on the paper route. This is back when you went and did collections. You had the papers that you had to go buy. And man, at Thanksgiving and Christmas, my clients wrote me notes of encouragement and letters and gave me banana bread and tips, man, right? Like cash tips. I was like, oh my gosh, man. I started banking on the fact I'm going to make $100 at Christmas time because everyone's going to leave a little envelope for the paper boy, Trent, man. And I'm going to get like $5 here, $2 there, or whatever. Like they're going to give me a little money. And man, I could take that $100 to the bank. Like I'm going to make $100 in tips. But I think what gave me confidence, Gary, was that all these people were loving on me, right? They were neighborly. It was back when, this is what I love about America, right? Like whoever you are, like we get in, we live in a neighborhood and we get to know people and you wave and you say hello and you serve them, right? Like this is where I want, and this is back in the day, you don't throw it on the lawn, man. And you don't drive by and everyone's got to go to the curb. This is like, I want my paper in the back screen door. And this one, I want my paper in the, in this place, and every house of my entire 3 routes had a very specific place for their paper. And of course the mailbox was number 1, but that was not always the place. People wanted their dog door and all sorts of stuff, right? They didn't want it to get wet. So they throw it the dog door on the side door. And so this was customer service, right? You're like, hey, this is what people want. And man, the value I got from treating those people and then them giving me the feedback of that customer service and what that meant to them was really ingrained in me. And then I think you go into like other jobs in high school, I'm waiting tables and you realize, hey, your tips are on how you serve, right? And like cold food is not going to be good tips, man. So like the whole industry and the alignment and the whole system. And of course we're Michigan kids, right? So like, we know the assembly line of the Fords. We grew up with, how did that happen? How did, Ford actually create that? Henry Ford creates this magnificent way to manufacture this car, and he makes it affordable for the entire world. It changes how America works because of the highways, and we all study that, right? We all go to the museum and look at that. We're an assembly line at the restaurant. Like, listen, the food's got to come. It's got to come in this order, and we got to go do it.
So right there, think of the lessons you learn there, right? Because so many people that I'll meet kids at McDonald's, Burger King, and I'll strike up a conversation with them, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say, do you understand the value of this job you have, right? And these kids will be, if they're not so busy, let's say there's nobody else in the store, and I'll start asking these questions. My wife will always kind of laugh and say, okay, here he goes again, right? I'll say, do you understand the value of this job, this McDonald's, that McDonald's on your chest is really cool. Yeah. And they're kind of like, I think that's kind of dorky, whatever. Some kids are like almost embarrassed. I'll say, be proud. You're working for one of the greatest companies of all time that has duplicated this service to communities, right? To serve consistency, to serve quality and consistency to the customer. And the only way this business stays alive and thriving is because of you. And the lessons you can learn that you can take on to your own business someday is incredible. I said, if you can understand the duplication of products here and services, and understand how to recreate your own to do something like this in whatever you want to do in life, success will happen. I said, so realize that you're working within a business that can teach you so many lessons to succeed in the future. It's incredible. So the same thing you're saying, right, is people don't see that very often, right? The newspaper route, people, But okay, so I was mine was the Chicago Tribune, and I was on the front page of one of the sections of the Tribune myself. At about 12 years old, it flooded. My neighborhood flooded. 80% of my neighborhood flooded once a year, probably 50% of the time. So every other year or so, you would either figure out how to deliver the papers, or you just say can't deliver papers, right? Well, I was the only newspaper guy that actually delivered in a major flood. Must have been about 74 or 5. We had a major flood in northern Illinois, and so we had 3 foot of water over all the yards and driveways, and I delivered in a boat. And so somebody got a picture of me delivering newspaper, somebody that I was delivering to in the boat, and the Tribune printed that, and they said, the Tribune doesn't stop delivering even in a flood, right? And it's pretty funny because I didn't think any of it. I just figured I got to get the paper delivered, right? And so we had a rowboat, loaded up the rowboat, and delivered papers. But again, that's customer service that you just kind of do because you're committed. And then it actually ends up to be something that's of value to you in the future. When you can serve a customer, better than the competition, good things happen, right? My tips probably were way better, that week than they were before because I went beyond, right? But serving me is a big deal, and that's in life. If we can just serve others better than anybody else in the world, good things happen, right?
Yeah, and I tell you, he's brought two, iconic brands into there, right? Tribune and McDonald's. I mean, you grew up in the shadow of an icon in McDonald's. It's funny because I'm going to be there in 2 weeks with Bloom Growth on the old campus, right? I'm going to be there in 2 weeks. I'm excited about getting back to Oak Brook. But when you talk about it, the thing about learning, and I talk about it in my book, Leading Winning Teams, right, is like I want aces on my team. Like if I get like 10 Gary Rabines, I got aces because I hold all the cards: coachability, adaptability, responsibility. And then you do those 3 things over and over again, and you got dependability. Well, we're learning that as paper kids when we're doing routes when we're 12 years old, because you got to understand, you got to be coachable, you got to adjust, and then you got to adapt to the situations. You're in a boat, man, delivering papers. Like, I love it. And then there's the responsibility. This is done every day. This isn't like, you know what? Hey, my buddies are all going to the movies, and then they're going to Johnny's house for pizza. I want to do that after school. And they're like, yeah, you're not doing that until the papers are delivered, right? And it's like, oh, dang, that's right, because that's my responsibility. And then you learn that every day, proving dependability, which is what people honor, right? Like,
okay, wait. Hey, give me those. You have 4. You have 4 there, or what? 4?
Yeah, they're cards, right? The aces: coachability, adaptability, responsibility, and then dependability. So we got those 4 things going. And this is where we as coaches, Gary, and owners and managers of people, we say, hey, Teresa Jackson, like, I'll take 10 more just like her. And everyone's like, well, Teresa's not the fastest. She's not the best salesperson. She's not the this in our organization. Yeah, but like, listen, Teresa Jackson is fabulous. She's absolutely coachable. She's a great teammate. Everybody loves her. Every time we need to adjust, she's the one saying, I will adapt to it. I will. That's always her attitude. Teresa Jackson is the one who says, I will. So we know she handles her responsibility again and again, because when Teresa Jackson tells you at noon it's going to be there on Friday, it's going to be there at noon on Friday. You can take it to the bank, and she's done it again and again, proving her dependability. And so people like us go, I'll take 10 more just like her. Because like, I don't need I need a cell phone in my ear and you look so busy and you're kicking butt and blah, blah, blah. I don't even know if you're producing anything. I know you look busy. What I really want to know is, are you an ace? And Teresa Jackson's an ace. And so when we look at that, I put 10 Teresa Jacksons on a team. Like, watch out. I'll tell you exactly who that team was. It was 2002, the Los Angeles Angels. It's a team made up of Teresa Jacksons. Guess what? We got 25 people all working toward the same North Star, ready to check their ego at the door, own their role, and do it. And that's how you win world championships, right? And so those are formed as a kid. And so kind of back to your point, these people that are, you've mentored so many people, Gary, and you're a guy, that's mentored me. I admired you, helped me through that whole program. We developed 46 relationships in Chicago between YPO and EO because of your assistance and help, having your buddies go, hey, listen, these are young entrepreneurs, guys, give back. get in there and help these kids out, man. They weren't kids, some of us are 50, but like we were young, man, trying to figure it out. And there were successful people ahead of us who knew that road and said, hey, listen, let me be a little GPS for you, man. Like, let me help you navigate this thing, because why would I want to go from Chicago down to Naples through San Diego? That's a horrible route. And a lot of us young entrepreneurs were doing that. We didn't know the route. So we were like, oh my gosh, what's up with the Colorado Rockies? I didn't expect the mountains on the way to Naples. They're like, yeah, you're lost, man. You were on the wrong road. What are you doing? You're going to Florida. And these guides, these YPOers came in. My dad was that guy. He was a huge influence on me. My coaches, when I was coming up as an athlete, they were huge, teaching me poise, teaching me self-control. And then I went into pros, man. I coached with Sparky Anderson, Nick Saban, Mike Scioscia, of course, your famous coach from, your Cubs winner, right? So I spent a lot of time with these great coaches, man. And Joe was amazing. And Joe was one of the best mentors for young athletes. He was an absolute superstar at seeing the potential of a young athlete, teaching him, this is your role right now. It may not be your role forever, but right now you are the backup middle infielder. You're not the starting second baseman. This is your role. And I know you've been the starting second baseman your entire life, but that's not today. But prove this every day to us so you could become that again at this level.
Hey, who's Joe? Joe who?
Joe Madden.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man. Joe Madden, the Cubs, man. I'm speaking your language.
No. Well, I'm a Sox fan, but not that I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Okay, yeah, that's fair. All right.
I didn't pay as much attention to Joe because my Sox were getting their butts kicked.
They're good now.
Hey,
they're in there right now.
They're good now. We're coming along now. But
Killen and I coached together for 7 years. He was the bench coach for the Angels, and it was amazing. Just to watch the guy work every day, to see someone who understands self-discipline and what that takes to get it done. And I think that's really the separator, right, Gary? When you talk about the ditch diggers, and all these people, and I've seen, man, you have had the who's who on your show of 1%, right? There's two in. There are two, and I want everyone to hear this. These are the two things that I've seen, and Gary and I spent our whole lives around 1%ers. It's crazy, right? And so, and when I have all these people from the pro athlete community, 1%ers, all these people from our world and the entrepreneurial community, which we know, just to qualify for EO, you're in the 3.5%. To be a YPOer and a WPOer or YPO Gold now, that is the 1%, right? And so they are absolutely hyper learners. They absolutely learn. And then, our special forces are like this. If you cannot learn fast, you cannot be in that role. You can't be a Navy SEAL. You can't be an Army Ranger unless you are ability to learn quickly and adapt rapidly and have the skill set. You've learned the skill set that they need you to adapt to. So you have to constantly be learning, because when Gary Rabine says, hey, listen, we're pivoting on this brand, we have to do this now in our organization. As a COO of that organization, you have to be like, oh, I prepared for this. I knew that we might have to pivot to this audience and this ideal client profile. I have been researching. I already have 1,000 people in my LinkedIn in this category, knowing we might and anticipating that we might be going to this. These are what hyper learners do. The other difference of the 1%ers.
So two things. You said hyper learners.
Hyper learning and self-discipline. Those are the those are the two things. The top percent, they have self-discipline. They have the internal locus of control. They know they can do things about anything that comes up. They have control over that, and they control their schedules, and they are constantly disciplined about where they. And so, you talked about impact, and why the 1%ers make impact is they're hyper learners. They know exactly, and they learn exactly where they want to have that focus, what matters to them. And then because of their self-discipline, they understand intentional time. This is where I'll put my intentional time. I won't put time where it's a least case use for me. It's bad. It's a bad effort. It's bad on my impact. It's bad on the people around me. It's not a good use of what God's given me in these gifts. And I have to use God's gifts. And they recognize and honor God's gifts. That's a huge thing. We are given these things, and it's really a thing that's I've seen recently, Gary, and maybe it's always gone and I just noticed, but I see these young kids, and God's blessed them with these great gifts. And they're like, yeah, I know I can sing like, Mariah Carey, but, I'm kind of embarrassed by it and I don't want to show anybody. So I just do it in my shower. I'm like, wait a minute, man, you love the church. Like get involved on the stage, like be a part of the worship team. Like, oh, I'd be embarrassed because, I'm 10 pounds overweight. I'm like, listen, man, like God didn't bless you with this to hide it in your shower alone. Like that is not the way this world works, man. And kids are like embarrassed by these gifts that they've been given by God. Like I'm super smart in math, but everybody thinks I'm dorky. Like, no. Why don't you go figure out this math equation and go with Musk and figure out how we're all going to live on Mars, man? You've got the math equation to run these rockets every week. And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I could have probably done that when I was 17. I'm like, why are you hiding? Like, shocking shelves at a grocery store when you have this level of high level mathematics because they're embarrassed by their gift. Like, don't ever be embarrassed by your gifts, man.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And that's so important, right? Because we see so many people, and believe me, I've never been shy, but at one point early on in my career, when I had some success, I became a YPOer. I was, business is big enough, and our employees were maybe 100 at the time, and our business was getting pretty large for my industry. And when I told my story around my friends in YPO, many of which had Ivy League educations, and everybody had a 4-year degree anyway, and most of them had MBAs, right? And here I am, a guy that barely made it through high school. And, people ask, so tell me, where'd you do your undergrad? I said, I'm like, under what does that mean, right? Anyway, bottom line is the conversations went to education a lot, and I was a little embarrassed about my education. And a good friend of mine in my forum in the first year, and this is one of the guys I was with this weekend, Paul Darley. Okay, he's been on my podcast.
Oh, I love Paul. Paul's a good friend. Yeah.
So Paul's business is now a couple $2 billion business, and when I met him back then, he told me this. He was probably a $30 million business, and he was the CEO of this family business. But Paul back then said, Rabine, tell your story. He goes, are you kidding me? He goes, your story is the most fun of any other YPO I met. Because all these other guys that have great educations, and they're groomed to be who they are, the CEO and all that. You just worked your butt off, and you deserve to tell that story, and people want to hear that story. Because all my other friends here, I love their stories, but yours is the most fun of the ones I know, because it's original. It's not like everybody else's. So tell the story. And again, eventually I started talking about that more. As once in a while I did a ward or do whatever, I'd talk about the ditch digger side of my story and the upbringing I had, because number one, I'm blessed to have it. I'm blessed to have had that story and learn from that, right? But again, like you said, tell your story. People so often are embarrassed because society tells them, that they're either that they're dorky, they're privileged, right? I mean, people tell them a message that society tells them a message that isn't so good, and so for them, they don't want to talk about who they are, because it might trigger somebody or whatever, and it's totally wrong in my opinion. Tell your story, whatever it is, the good of it, the bad of it, and be inspired yourself to continue to be able to visualize the next story, and how whatever you're going through today, good or bad, becomes part of the story to help others and inspire others. So I love it.
I agree. Yeah, I love it. And you've got a great story, man. And our stories just are what they are, right? There are experiences. And the reason I think I tell my story is because I think God created this path for me, right? And the path that he created, I mean, I had to follow it. I was driven for it, right? I mean, if you don't know my story was, as a 12-year-old, right? I was a 12-year-old. My favorite teacher said, what do you want to be when you're 30? What's life going to look like? I mean, I think he was my English teacher calling it in the week before spring break, right? Like, this is a little exercise we're going to do. And man, I took it so seriously. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and I was already ready to be 20 years old. I had this paper route. I was a business guy. I'm making money. And I thought, man, like, and meanwhile, my oldest brother was playing hockey at Michigan State. My next brother was an all-state tailback, 9.5 yards a carry, being, coaches are coming in our living room on the weekends and talking to my brother, and coach I seen on TV, man, this is a big deal. My sister just won Miss Michigan teen, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna be better than all of them, man. I'm going to the show, man. I'm gonna be a Major League Baseball player, right? And and what I don't realize is that at 12 years old, what I'd love to see the teacher's stack of papers. Like, hey, I want to be president. I want to own a business. I want to be a fireman or a policeman. Like, no one says drug dealer, right? No one says these dumb things. Like this is we have aspirations for what we might be able to be. And man, it was so crazy. But we wrote these 5 things down about what life was going to be like when we're 30. And then you fast forward 2 years, and I'm invited to the showcase for the baseball. This is back when you don't have like combines like we do now for kids everywhere, right? Like you had to be invited, and it was run by a former major leaguer. And I was like, man, I got to get in. And
how old are you? 15?
I'm 15 years old now. I just finished my freshman season, and we have I'm on a very good baseball team. I'm on a very good team. We are competing regionally. We have put this team together of all our local kids. So we're all going to go to high school now together, and we're killing teams. It's not close. And everyone's kind of like wait and see these kids when they hit high school kind of thing. And so a lot of my teammates all get this invite, and it's super important to us. Also, it's like the day the invite comes in the mail, it's like the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I'm like, I'm in, baby. Like I got my ticket. And I read this thing, and on the fine print, it says, hey, if you're selected as the MVP, you get to sit down one-on-one with the head coach, who's a former major leaguer. Well, I don't know any former major leaguers, so I'm like, I got to get that. I have to know, do I have what it takes? I got to know. And so, now here's another big lesson, right? I'm 15 years old. What happens when preparation meets opportunity? I've got the opportunity. I got 30 days. I'm fortunately playing on a really good team, so I'm competing at a high level. I'm lifting weights. I'm hitting balls. I'm ready to go. So I go to camp and hit over 500 for the week. I mean, I am raking. And I love to tell the story because I was the MVP and Derek Jeter wasn't that weekend, and Derek was, at the camp that week.
Really?
But what I don't like to say is that Derek was, 12 and I was 15. I'm a little older than Derek. So, he was just coming up at the time. They were just recognizing his great talent. And it might have been the only day I was ever better in my life than Derek Jeter. So, but, Derek was from Kalamazoo. And so, these are the kind of things that, like that happen. And they shape you. So I'm named MVP, I get to sit down, and I say to this guy, one of the biggest lessons in my life. You talk about like these mentor moments, right? And he says, hey Trent, what do you want to do? And I go, I want to do what you did. I want to play in the majors. And thinks about it, he goes, man, I think you can do it. And I was like, dumb kid, man. I'm like dumbfounded. I'm like, really? I'm like, hey man, in one of these just dumb kid moments like that, you just blunt honesty, because I mean, my shoulders probably dropped 3 inches, right? Of the relief that this guy would actually think someone believes in me.
Who was that guy?
Yeah, I can't even remember the coach. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and I can't even remember his name. He played for the Senators. That's how old I am, and he was right at the time. He's an older guy. He's like 80, and so I gotta look that up. But so I said, hey, with all due respect, sir, everybody else is telling me no. And he goes, well, that's interesting, Trent. Who are these people? I go, my PE teacher, my math teacher, one of the neighbors on my paper route, I've kind of shared my dreams with a couple of people, my mom, and nothing malicious in any way. They're just like, hey man, very few people make it, so you better have a backup plan, right? Like, hey, stay in school, kid. All right, none of it was malicious, but they're like, I was hearing, you're not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not fast enough, and I'm starting to believe in my heart, like I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Trent Clark is not enough, and I'm starting to say those things in my mind. And this was a big shift. And he goes, man, so I'm going to tell you one thing that I need you to understand. He goes, please don't take any advice from someone who hasn't done what you want to do. Seek out the people that have actually done what you want to do in this world. And I'm like, yes, sir. And I have never stopped doing that from that moment. Like, it's the old Holiday Inn Express last night, hey, You should feed the gorilla. Like, oh, I just had a Holiday Inn Express last night. Like I have some wisdom that I don't really have. Untrue, right? Like and this is what was so important, right? This was so important about the mentorship. We were young entrepreneurs and we all wanted what you guys had. You guys had 20 million, 40 million, $200 million companies. And we were like, man, how do I take my little $2.5 million business to 200 million, Gary? Like, and I need someone who's actually done it to tell me how I need to go about this, because I need the cheat code. I need the map. I need the GPS. And so, man, that lesson was so powerful for me. And to finish that story, when I was in 2000, like when I was 13 years old, and I did this thing in 7th grade, right? I wrote out these 5 things. The song of the day was "Party Like It's 1999" by Prince. That seemed like so far away, man. It was like, whatever. Well, in 1999, on December 31st, I turned 30. And I went home to see my mom and dad. And I was home for Christmas visiting. And my mom says, "Hey, a letter came for you in the mail." And I'm like, of course, that's my college wanting, like, "Hey, you've done really well. Send us money," right? And she's like, "No, it's from the grade school." It was Mr. Medcalf, my teacher from 7th grade. And he wrote a note. He sent me my paper back and he said, "How'd you do?" And I was like, no way. I totally remember this. I was telling my wife at that time, like, I just totally remember this. I said, this is so important to me. First thing, what are you going to do after high school? I'm going to play baseball at Arizona State University. They were the best school in college, right, Gary? And they never called. So I played baseball at the University of Toledo, and I played tennis there both. I played 2 sports as a Division I athlete. And then 2, what are you going to be doing?
Hold on a second. Do you still play tennis?
Yeah. I do, yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
I play pickleball more, but I play tennis a lot too.
You got to teach me how to play. So I've been trying to learn how to play tennis because my wife,
hard sport.
Julie's really good, and she's 5'0", and we're.
Oh, she's 5'0".
She's 5'0". She's 61, and she's a strong 5'0".
Oh, God bless her, man.
And she never played until she was 37.
Well, we'll all hit when I come to Naples.
You had to come. So I'm trying to be a. She's a 5'0". I'm trying to be a 2.5. Oh, okay.
Yeah. She doesn't want to play with you. She doesn't want to play with you. You're wasting her time.
Okay, I'm probably moved to like a 3.20 now. Okay, I'm gaining. Okay, but she's still.
You're athletic. We'll move you up. Yeah.
We're gonna play. I do play pickle too.
Yeah, that's good. So number 2, what are you gonna be doing? I'm gonna be playing pro baseball. Like, that's what I'm gonna be doing. And I was coaching. I was coaching at that time. As you know. At like 23, they gave me that, "Hey, you'd make a good coach" talk. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that when I'm done playing. And they're like, yeah, that's now. And so I never made it to the major leagues. I immediately switched over to coaching and coached with Sparky Anderson with the Tigers in 1993, 94. And so the third thing was, where will you be living? I said, I'll be living in a golf and tennis community in Arizona, because I was done with the Midwest winters and everything. I was like, I didn't want to spend like any more time in the cold. And I had just flown in the night before from my golf and tennis community in Arizona, where I lived. And then the fourth thing was, will you be married? And I said, yeah, I'll be married to a blonde girl that's taller than me. Yeah, that wasn't hard to find at 5'6", but I did do that. And she was my wife at the time. And then the last thing was, will you have a family? And I said, yeah, I'll have a son. And my son, Noah, was, who's now 28. He was 1.5, coming home for like his first Christmas with his grandparents that he would remember, right? And everybody's just so excited about Christmas with a 1.5-year-old, right? And the first grandson. And it was amazing. And I just think, like, man, I was 12 years old, setting goals for the first time, and how much that shaped my life. I never looked at it from the time I was 12 until I was 30 when I received it back. But like, all the people that shaped those goals for me, but it also helped me make decisions, right, Gary? When everyone's going, "Hey, let's go get drunk and go vandalize the," like, what? Like, I can't do that, man. I need a college coach to say, "I want you on scholarship." I don't need a criminal record. I'm already up against enough at 5'6". Like, I've got to do a bunch of things right, and I can't risk that. So, like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I'm not going to be doing things out of bounds. And so it guided a bunch of my life and kept me out of a bunch of trouble, because these were my goals, and I was telling people what my goals were. Probably maybe too much.
That's such a great point. And I heard from my friends, my late wife Cheryl, and I'll even hear, some from even my wife today, right, Julie, and some friends that I talk too much about where we're going, where I believe we're going. And sometimes, in those stories are back in the day when I was a kid, people say, come on, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. There's no way you have a $10 million business by the time you're, 40 years old. And again, when my goal is $100 million business, and I was probably 35 at that point. Now my goal is $100 million business. People laughed at me, right? And my wife, my friends would say, "Hey, you just got to quit talking about that." I say, "No, I'm not going to quit talking about it. That's my goal." And when I meet people that will challenge me in that goal, I think I get smarter. I think about it more. When I meet people that say, "Man, you could do that. Here's something that I've experienced that can help you on your way," that helps me also, right? So I think expressing your goals on a constant basis. And today I'm 63 years old nowadays, right? And I still have these crazy goals that go beyond anything I'd ever imagined. But they're and when I express them, sometimes my wife today, Julie, and my friends may say, "Hey, you probably don't need to share that with that person. They may not, they may not appreciate the life you live and how abundant it is compared to maybe theirs." And I'll say, you're right. There's going to be some people that it might affect negatively, and I apologize. I don't mean that at all ever, right? But there's going to be some people that are going to drive me further because they're going to question my goals, and they're going to drive me further because they're going to inspire me to think of it a different way. So I'm going to continue to share my dreams. And as a kid, something that people didn't do very often, you did it. I did it as well. But boy, when you do that, it's kind of etched in your head. And as people challenge you negatively, right? Then you think about it, and then maybe you change your direction. Maybe you pivot a little on how you're going to get to that goal if you respect that person that challenged you. And then you're going to run across mentors in your life that'll come on and say, "Man, you know what, Trent, you got a lot on your plate, man. You got a lot of dreams. Let me know if you need help. Let me share my experience with you sometime to tell you how I got to be somewhere where you want to go." And that exactly what that coach said to you. Seek out the people who have already done what you want to do. Man, that's the best advice anybody can give, right? Because you're going to have people that love you that just don't think your dream is possible. And they're going to have a hard time telling you why and in the nicest way. But boy, the people that have already been there and done it, find those mentors, and boy, you're going to be inspired, and you're going to have the roadmap will get a little clearer than you might think. So what an amazing thing to think about. So hey,
I've challenged. I want to say that for 1 second. I want to challenge people when people hear, why not? Like why they can't do it, right? Like all the, you got this hurdle, and a lot of times I'll graciously listen for a short time, right? Like I want to learn why, why, and I'll be like, "Hey, that's really good. That's really good advice. I really appreciate it. Now tell me why I can. Tell me why. Tell me why I will do it. Like you think I'll do it because I'm perseverant? Like, man, I am diligent. I will stay with it. Will I do it because I work harder than other people? Will I do it because I'm surrounded by this great network of just absolute world beaters that are always happy to come in and help me because so many people stepped in and helped them?" And when they ask, like I tell a lot of people, man, if you want the best mentor in the world, you find that person make a list of the 5 best people that you know in the world. And I mean, shoot for the stars. You want Elon Musk, put him number 1, man. Because you know what? How many times do you think Elon Musk gets called on the phone and says, "Hey, listen, man, I'm a freshman at MIT and I want to build a rocket myself and I need a mentor"? You think he gets asked to be a mentor? Like, people are like, "That guy's so smart. He's so busy. He's running, he's running like $8 billion companies, right?" Like, yeah, he is. No one asks him. And so, like, Gary, how many times have you been asked to be a mentor, let's say in the last 2 years?
Yeah, probably 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're one of the most successful men in the state of Illinois. You have run more entrepreneurial ventures than most men I know, successfully, with failures I know, as we all have. You've got life lessons beyond most of the people I know. You're an absolute 1% of the 1%. It's insane. And yet here's this asset, and people know you. You're an approachable guy. You're not standoffish. And they're like going, "Man." And no one ever asks you, and you have so much to give. And that's what I don't think people understand is
No.
you asked people and they gave it to you, didn't they?
Well, what you found out on your paper route, and what I found out on my paper route, and when I started seal coating driveways and patching driveways, what I found out was those people I asked about how they did it, right? Those that did it, that actually did something, are love telling the story. They love sharing it with somebody that actually wants to know, that's not going to be envious,
Yes.
actually wants to be inspired. Okay. What we have today is we have too many people today that think that, boy, if I tell my story, I'm going to sound like I'm going to sound braggadocious.
Yeah.
I'm going to sound like I'm an arrogant person, right? And so most people don't want to tell their story, like we talked about earlier, for fear of sounding, braggadocious and not very nice. But if we knew that people wanted to hear our stories because they want to be inspired, nothing better than a person that's had some success like we have, right? To be able to share that success, hopefully transferring some of that knowledge onto them so they can have success. The best thing we can do in America is share this American dream with as many as we can, because our country is stronger as entrepreneurs are abundant. When our country dies, and someday it might, right? If it does, it'll be because of envy. It'll be because of evil envy. It'll be because of communism and socialism takes over and creates more people that can't be inspired, and more people that actually want free stuff and won't vote for inspiration, or won't vote for the American dream anymore. They're going to vote for free stuff. And so that's the end of our country when that happens. Hopefully it never does, and we'll fight for it. But what you said is so important. When I asked those people on my paper out that had the nicest $200,000 houses back then, and that $200,000 was a big house on the water, on the channel or the little lake we were around. And that house, man, I was like, wow, that's if I could ever afford a house like that, that'd be amazing. That house today is probably in Illinois still 200,000, because the taxes are so high, values haven't gone up. That house still 50 years later is maybe 300,000. Okay. But that house, I looked and said, you own that house. You must be successful. You drive a nice car. And when I asked those people how they did it, 8 times out of 10, they were excited to tell me.
Yeah.
20% of the time, 2 times out of 10, when they weren't excited to tell me, when they said, yeah, get out of here, you nosy little kid. Get out of here, you nosy seal coat guy. When I heard that and I understood who they were, eventually I understood they probably never built anything, and so they didn't have a story to tell. They didn't build anything, so therefore they didn't want they wouldn't spend time with it because they didn't have an exciting story to tell. But ask that, and as you said, ask people to mentor you, because people actually like to mentor, and maybe it's an hour a month. Maybe it's 10 minutes a month or 10 minutes a year. But if you get time from people that have had amazing success in a place, that have been there, been somewhere where you want to go, right? That value is worth tens of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, right?
And offer something. Offer something like, hey, Gary, would you give me 90 minutes of your time on developing and helping my business? I will give you 90 minutes on the tennis court, and I will help you beat your wife's butt eventually here. Like, it's going to take a minute. Like, and I might slow track it so I can get 3 years of mentorship. All right. But like, I'm going to get you there, man. Like, and so like, that's, it's an exchange, and it's a value exchange. And how many kids, like, don't act like you don't have anything to offer. This is a 65-year-old person, and this woman's built $1 billion company, and she's like, man, would you spend, I'm going to give you 90 minutes. Would you spend 60 minutes with me helping me educate about this AI stuff? Because you're a 25-year-old in the middle of it, and go, oh, I know all sorts of stuff about this. Like, that would be wonderful for me. That's an exchange. Offer a value exchange. Offer something that your skill. What's your God's gift? Sing it at her daughter's wedding. Like, for goodness sakes, man. Like, offer something of value to them. Pay for lunch. Go to them. But listen, if you put that 1 through 5 list and you offer a value exchange, you will not get the number 5. When number 1 says no, check it off. Number 2, Musk said no. Got it. Rabine couldn't do it. Got it. Love him. He couldn't make it. Like, who's the next person? Like, go to your number 3. You are not going to hit number 5 of the 5 most successful people that you know in this organization, but you have to offer something in the value. And, man, I think you struck a chord with me on the America thing, because, like, people don't understand the value exchange in America. Like, we are so gifted, we are so blessed. And I tell anybody as a browbeat America, and not perfect. We know we got our challenges. But you better thicken up your passport. You better go find out how other people live. I've spoke in over 17 countries. I've got passport stamps in 40. You better go find out how other people actually live in this world. And that's the one thing, like, there is beauty everywhere, and families are still loving the same things we love. They still love God, they still love their family, and they still love their country. And as Americans, the one thing I always tell everybody, like, hey man, if you go to Italy, you meet the Italians, and when you go to Greece, you meet the Greeks, and when you go to China, you meet the Chinese, and when you go to Chile, you meet the Chileans. And when you go to America, you meet the Americans, and we're all of those things. We are every one of them. And the Chileans marry the English, and the English marry the Japanese, and it's awesome. And it is a society that's made up of all the people in the world looking for one thing, which is freedom and liberty. And we have it, and we offer it here, and you cannot overlook that. I just spent 2 hours like 2 weekends ago after the World Cup, because I love the World Cup. I thought it was great. And I spent 2 hours watching YouTube memes about all the people in the world getting on their social going, we were told America's dangerous, the people are terrible, they're going to be awful to us, it's dirty, the food is no good, and they're going to kill you, and blah, blah. And they were like, this place is amazing. Like, this is like heaven on earth. Like, the people are wonderful. They're loving us. We're drinking. We've drank Boston Dry. We're Scottish, and they're like going, the Massachusetts representative got on social and was like, listen, I don't know what we're going to do, but Scotland, we're doing this every year. I don't care if we got to get Foxborough High School over here for a soccer game. Come on over. We're doing it again next year. Like, this is amazing. And the Asians just raving about Dallas and Dallas barbecue and how good the people have been to them. We are made up of people from everywhere in this big blue ball. And it's amazing. And I think just people miss it, man. People just miss it all the time, Gary. And I tell you, it's something to protect. I liked Huckabee's note the other day. Huckabee's like, hey, here's a country that said death to us for 47 years. You're being irresponsible if you're not taking that seriously. Because if you or I, as fathers, Gary, I have 5 children, you have a number of kids, and Sud said, hey, listen, I'm taking your son out. I know that kid. I'll kill that kid. You protection mode? Oh, baby. We are in protection mode. It's not happening on my watch, bro. What are you talking about? Not happening. And Americans, we are the same. We've got borders and hey, listen, you want death to us for 47 years, Iran? Really? Borders drop, man. Come and try it, because we protect our own. We protect our own.
So many amazing things, Trent, that you're passionate about. And I loved it. Also, the World Cup proved one thing, right? It proved that the American dream is still alive in such a big way. And it's clearer than ever for the rest of the world, because that dream was dying for the rest of the world to look at us as a beacon in many ways, because of the media. The media pushes America's a bad place. Yep. It's the prejudice. It's all these things, when it's absolutely the opposite of all that. But we've allowed, with leadership in our country, to spread the word ourselves as in leadership, right? From the Obama, this isn't about politics. It's about a person in Obama who comes from my area in the Midwest, who really went around the world apologizing for the ills of this country, America. And so what does the world think when the president of that country is apologizing for being such bad people, right? I mean, that from that time on, I think we've been tarnished. But overall, I believe the World Cup proved that the American dream is clearer than ever. And boy, you should strive to live the American dream and be here someday, and do it in a way that's legal, and do it in a way that's really molds to our values and our culture. So I love
can I jump in there for a second? Because you said, can I say something real quick? Because it's something you said about your success, right? People ask me, I don't want to brag about I've had plenty of failures, and I'm happy to talk about those too. I've had a lot of them, right? and lessons. I don't think failure is final. I just think those are really valuable and often expensive lessons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like, when people say, "Hey, Gary, you shouldn't talk about it. You're supposed to apologize for your success." Like, so that's what I felt like happened. We're supposed to run around and apologize for our success, but that success was funded on values and attributes that we honor. Honor is one of those things: character, integrity, hard work, effort, all those 10 things that we expect in our employees that offer no skill, preparation, being on time, all those things. You tell me, hey, let's record this show. I don't show up 20 minutes after. Like, we honor our friends, we honor people, and all those things, those values and those attributes that you were taught and rolled into your successes. Why would you ever apologize for that?
You should. And society kind of pressures, I think, many people to not talk about it, right? To not to be proud of it, because other people might be envious of that, right? So again, I 100% agree with you, man. It's such a point that we need to make and put an exclamation point on. So to tell us about, people want to hear about this amazing dream that you have to become a World Series, a coach, first of all, and a World Series champion. Tell us about that a little bit, and then how that's taken you to who you are today as a coaching champions in business.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, people thought I was crazy. Like, I got crazy goals, and most are saying that's crazy. You shouldn't have those things. But what really probably propelled me was, this day for that day, right? Coach Manny, a big mentor of mine, he was my strength coach at the University of Toledo and became the longtime strength coach at Michigan State for Saban, and then stayed for, I think, 25 years at Michigan State. And he taught me this day for that day. Like, what are you going for? On that day, when I was 13 years old, I decided I was going for a college scholarship. One day when the coach would say, hey, listen, I want you on my team, and I'm willing to offer you a scholarship to go to university and pay, because, I only had limited funds for university, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I'm a middle-class guy. My dad's an accountant, and he taught school at a junior college, and he started his own little entrepreneurial venture that's still going today, Clark & Clark Accounting, that my brother runs, which is really cool. And his legacy's alive, and I love that about him, and a lot of impact he made, right? Intentional time. And so, when I think about that, that day was 1,500 days away when I was 13 years old. It was 5 years, man. And so when you talk about that, like, what am I doing this day for that day? What are you doing this day for that day when they call you? What was I doing for 15 years? For 15 years, I'm building businesses. I'm building my family. I'm going to church. I'm shaping myself. I'm Trent Clark 56.0 right now, because every year I've got to upgrade the software, man. I've got to do that for my clients. They are the 1%ers. We're all getting better, right? So I got to do that. So this day for 15 years, this day was get better, till that day when Wiley calls me and says, hey, we'd like to offer you a contract to write this book, Leading Winning Teams. That's a moment in time that, man, was like another goal I reached. And I realized, hey, listen, your goals aren't off, just maybe your timelines. Maybe it's going to take 8 years instead of 3 years. But don't be afraid of your goals. Like, stay focused this day for that day. Sometimes it's going to be like, hey, man, in 90 days, you can shed that 7 pounds. So what are you doing this day for that day? Because only 90 days, like, we got all sorts of things, right? We got like all the, 75 hard, 75 days, man. Do it 75 days and change your discipline. I love what Andy did there. Andy out of St. Louis, he's amazing. And then you go like, hey, 75 days, can you do that? Your body transforms, your discipline transforms, you learn time management, you get about 27 skills that you never knew you had just by doing these things 75 days in a row. And also the discipline that you don't need alcohol in your life, because you did 75 days without alcohol. Changes so many people's lives that Andy should get a Medal of Freedom for this little thing he came up with. 75 days, right? but this day for that day, what are you going to be? Because in 75 days, guess what? You're going to be 7 pounds lighter. You're going to reach your goal. Start knocking these things off. Reach these little goals. Start knocking them off. And that's what happened for me, man. I just started knocking off goals, and I realized I'm not scared of goals. I'm not scared of what we're going to do ahead, because I'll find the people who will help me get there.
So how'd you get that job working with Sparky? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I found out, like, it was a little bit of happenstance in the fact, like, I was a teaching certificate, right? I had a teaching degree. I went and did student teaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I can't do Groundhog's Day. I can't go every day to the same school. And I was student teaching, and I was around the teachers who I looked up to, and I'm going to the teachers union for the first time in my life. And I'm like 21, 22. And I'm actually hearing these people just complain about the kids and how bitter they are and this attitude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this who I'm going to be when I'm 50 years old? Like, I can't be this person. This is not what's made for me. I got to stay this baseball path. And so how do I roll my education up? And then I realized that there's less than 1% of anybody in the major leagues with a college degree. So I'm like, I'm going to be the first guy who makes the major leagues in a college, or one of the few who make, the majors with a college degree. And so I'm on that route. And then all of a sudden I've got to pivot, because they tell me, the shoulder's bad. I've torn it up pretty good. You're just not going to compete at this level. And I'm like, yeah, well, I do have a degree in strength and conditioning, and I've got a lot of training in that. And this is really light at the time. It was behind in Major League Baseball. The other sports had really improved physical performance in a lot of ways, and baseball was dragging their heels out of tradition, right? Hey, you get big and strong, you're not going to hit the ball very far, and you're not going to be very good. And then Mark McGwire comes along, hitting balls like 600 feet, and you're like, hey, maybe these muscle things are working out. Like, I don't know. He's got flexibility. He's got muscle. All of a sudden everyone finds out, and the whole dynamic of the game changes, because the players look very differently than they did in the 70s. And so it's a very different dynamic. And I was on the front edge of that, being a forefront of like, hey, how do we create this? And they love me because they didn't want a football strength coach. So you only play 12 or 14 games a year. We're going to play 162. How do you recover? And I'm like, hey, as athletes, I was there as a baseball player. If I do too much, I've got overuse problems, and I've got overuse injury, which is what happened to me. I'm a little guy trying to compete, so I'm over strong because I'm constantly being stronger than everybody else, because that's my balancer, right? Because I'm not going to be as big as they are, so I got to be stronger. So that's my strength, is I'm stronger than most people. But that overuse becomes an issue. So I'm in this gray area. Now I'm out of the gray area. Well, if you do too little, atrophy, right? You fall apart. You get weaker. So now all of a sudden you're susceptible to injury. So I've got this block. So I teach for 13 years of Major League Baseball. I'm teaching all these athletes. Some of my heroes too, Dave Winfield, Eddie Murray. Like, I'm a 25-year-old coaching some of these guys who I saw in high school and looked up to. And now I've got to educate them. Hey, Dave, at 39 years old, I need you to get you in the gray zone. Eddie, I need to get you in the gray zone where we do enough to keep you healthy, get you strong, make you last through it. Because a professional baseball is not a gas tank theory. You can't load up in the off season, fill the tank up, and then hope like you get through 162 games. You're going to run out of gas at like game 60, and you're going to be 100 games out of gas. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to get hurt. You're not going to vote. They're going to move you down. They're going to end your contract. So I could explain it to them in a language they could understand. And I had the experience of playing myself, and I had the experience of the surgery and rehabilitating and coming back and doing that. So I had a lot of things that lined up. So the moon and the stars just came together. I was a little bit of the right time, right place. And I got a job with the Tigers and with a mentor. Ken Manny had a great reputation. Nick Saban had a great reputation. They were both on my resume when I was 22 years old, because Ken was my mentor. He was my strength coach. He knew how hard I worked. He knew how strong I was. And Nick Saban just happened to be there because he was the coach at the University of Toledo for 1 year. Most people don't know that was his first head coaching job. And I had interactions. And one of my good friends at the university was Matt Eberflus, your former Bears coach. Matt and I ran around together all the time because we were both educators in the same area. He was the captain of the football team, and I was on the baseball. And we were constantly hanging out together at school. And so Matt and I became friends. And so, I had to work out when the football players work out. So Matt helped me go touch to Coach Saban. So I was the only athlete that was allowed to be in the weight room when football was in there, because Coach Saban gave me a bye. And I love this story. You'll appreciate this story. is that, I thought Coach Haven was, just, I don't know why he pardoned me. The only thing I think is Coach Manning, because he'd never allowed this to happen, right? But Coach Manning told him how strong I was, right? And I didn't know this at the time. So the first day I go in, I got my hood up. I want to be melting into the walls. I don't look like everybody else. The football team's in there. They're all giants. I'm over in the corner, getting at it, lifting a lot of weight. And Coach Saban walks through, looks at me, meets me in the eye, gives me one of these, walks through another day, walks through, gives me another look. Yep. Day 3 comes through, and he goes, all right, everybody. I don't want to see anybody let the tennis guy outlifts you in this room. And I'm like, what? And he knows he's got like defensive backs out of Detroit who've never seen a weight room. And I'm putting a lot of weight on. And he's like, these guys are like, oh man, I can't lift that kind of weight, man. Like, this isn't what I want to be. And now I'm like a front runner. Like, you got to be big. You got to be stronger than this guy. He doesn't play on the football team, man. Like, he's a tennis guy. He failed to mention the baseball part, and so like Saban is so calculated, so motivating. Like, he taught me so much about process, man. It was crazy. Coaching with him at Michigan State was incredible. One of the best experiences.
That's awesome. All right. So then Sparky, where did it come along? Where did Sparky Anderson come along though, and say, we need a guy like this? Who hired you?
Sparky wasn't. I was hired. I was hired by really a longtime University of Michigan guy who was a Bo Schembechler guy. Bo was a big part of the Tigers for a short time, and he brought the strength and conditioning up. And the guy who hired me was one of his disciples, who was still with the Tigers, Brad Andrus, great dude. And Brad was incredible, one of the hardest working guys I ever saw. I mean, I just had these models of great people, Ken Manny, Brad Andrus, Gary Rabine, these people who just, effort matters. And they were just never afraid to work harder than everybody else and not embarrassed by it. And you just realize, man, like, and quite frankly, I have a lot, probably, you'd think I have a lot of emphasis on, world championship, World Series. Like, listen, results are great. I love them, but I'll put so much more on effort because, man, people who are willing to put it in, I'll help them direct their intentional time, but at least they're putting in the time. Now I just need to get them intentional. The person who's unwilling to get the time, it's back to the two things. So to be in my world and get a coach like me, to the coach the 1%, right? Are you interested or are you committed? Because I don't work with interested people. Interested people are talking about it. I only work with committed people, and committed people are doers. And that's where, I've surrounded my life with, right? They're the 1%ers. They're the committed.
I love it. All right. So that's the World Championship years. What years were those, and what that look like?
So I only won one World Championship in 95 and 97. Went to the World Series with the Tribe in Cleveland, and we lost both. We lost a heartbreaker in Game 6 when David Justice hit a solo shot, and we lost 1-0 in Game 6 to the Braves. And then Dave came and played for us with the Indians and was on our team in the 97 World Series when we played against the Marlins, and we lost in Game 7 in extra innings. So you can imagine the heartbreak in Cleveland when they lost another extra inning Game 7 to the Cubs, in 2000, whatever it was, 16, 17 or whatever. I mean, it's been a rough road for those Tribe fans. God love them. So I went to 2 World Series and lost. And then in 2002, we won the World Championship with the Angels, which is just a fabulous experience. And, really surreal, right? Like, because, if you get really close to your goal and your dream and you don't make it, it's an itch that you can't stop scratching at, right? And it's like, man, I got to get there. How's this going to look? And so when that last out hits, it's like a little bit surreal, man. Like, did it really just happen? Like pinch me, man. Am I awake? Like, it's really crazy. And I wish everybody had that feeling, and this is what I love about athletics. Every kid needs the chance to score the 3-pointer at the buzzer, to score the winning touchdown, to contribute to a team. And it's probably one of the things I loved about flag football for kids, right? 5 players, 5-on-5. And if you got any kind of decent coach, you could get every one of those kids on your team. You'll have like 10 kids on your team. You could get every one of the end zone, and every kid, man, I get broken up talking about it. Like every 11-year-old kid needs to look up and have his grandparents go, way to go, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, you have to have empathy for those kids that don't have the parent in the stand, don't have the grandparents or the parents in the stands. Right. And, it's a big difference for a kid. And, those that, parents have to never forget that, man, if their kids are in sports, if there's any way they can make any possible game, they should be making it. Right. Any grandparent, same way, try to make every game you can, because you never know when the last one is. Right.
Well, and when that feeling hits, like put that feeling in the bottle. Like you caught lightning, put it in the bottle and go, what can I do in my life that I always want to feel like this? That I got the chance to feel like this again. Because that's why we're entrepreneurs, right? Like we get the chance to help people in their lives, and we get the chance to serve, and they recognize that value, and it makes us feel valuable. And that's that lightning in the bottle that we feel, and we can't wait to have the feeling again.
So Trent, that's so important. And you've been around so many successful athletes and also, business leaders, right? CEOs and business leaders. But how often do you give that message to those extreme athletes that have played in the pros and they retire at 30 or 35 or whatever it is, after a 2 or 3 year career in a great sport like baseball or football, and they feel like they're done. They feel like they've reached the pinnacle, right? And sometimes their lives don't work out so well. This long life ahead doesn't work out so well. How do you give them that message to say you've worked hard, you've done all the right things to be a world class in this sport? That same mentality is something you should carry into whatever you do next, whether it's philanthropic
100%.
or business or whatever it is. And that same thrill of victory and the same thrill of being world class can be there again the rest of your life.
It's why I wrote this book. It's why I wrote Leading Winning Teams, because so many athletes were coming to me after their career and going, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't have anything. I don't have anything to offer. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? You have these massive amount of skills. Like everybody wants you because you're a great teammate. You understand teamwork. You understand self-discipline. You understand sacrifice. You understand roles and knowing your role and completing your role. You understand that you are an ace. You understand coachability. You've been given feedback your whole life, and you've been searching it out because feedback's the gift, man. I did this TEDx talk called The Pain Exchange, right? The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. You choose. We're going to have pain in this life. Gary, you're one of the most successful people in my life. Your wife passed away a few years ago, man. It was terrible, and I'm so sorry. And there's pain. And I mean, I know you have not been omitted from pain in this life. And everyone thinks, like, Gary, man, he's got a great life. You've had pain. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so there's this pain, and we're all going to have it. So, but you also understand the pain of discipline and the pain of sacrifice that you made. And you realize, like, when we went hill running and we were puking on summer nights because we're training so hard, and then we won the state championship. Has everyone ever gone back and gone, man, was the hill running worth it? Oh, no, man, I wish we'd have lost in the districts. And it said no one ever. You're so thrilled that you made the goal, and the pain of discipline was acute, meaning it was short term. Yeah, it sucked. We were sore for 2 days, but guess what? We heal, and then we're back training again, and we're fine. It's acute pain. It's not long. The pain
100%.
of regret is chronic. The pain of regret lasts for a long time. I have pain of being a 17-year-old kid mistreating a friend of mine. I'm 56 years old. It hasn't gone away. It'll be 40 years, and when I call up that moment, I still have pain about how I should have done something different in that moment. I regret who I was, how I reacted, my behavior in that moment. And I wish I were somebody different. I wish I could take that back, and I cannot. Yeah. And that's regret, man. That is a pain I just get to live with, right? Yeah. And some people, and we know them, Gary, they're pro athletes who had that moment, and they can't live with the regret that they didn't do everything they should have, and they sit at a bar stool every day at 4 o'clock because they have to live with themselves. And the only thing that drowns the pain of regret is crap. Right? It's working. It's being the hardest worker and going to work and being a workaholic 100 hours a week, or it's drinking every night, or it's something to numb the pain of that regret. And you can't do it. You've got to face it.
So now let's finish this off with what you do and what you've been doing for a long time now in coaching leaders, coaching CEOs. Your book is all about this. It's a great book, right? Leading winning teams. It's such a it's basic, but it's so to the point, right? I mean, how you lead winning teams is none of us can do it on our own. None of us. And anybody that says that they're uber successful and they say they did it on their own, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to interview them. I'm just not going to waste a lot of time with them, because there's zero chance you have any real success in life, whether in a small way, in this American dream, or a very large way, without other people busting their ass for you, working hard, striving to get to that dream themselves, right? Along with you. Tell me what you teach and how you coach today, and what your vision is for the next 10 years. Right now, we know what you do. I know a little bit what you do, but what tell us about that, because the audience doesn't know, and tell us about your 10-year goal now at 56, 56.0. Let me know what you're thinking.
Yeah, so at 66, I'm buying a house in Gary's neighborhood in Naples. That's my goal right there. Like, yeah, I got to get down to Gary's neighborhood. So, yeah, I mean, I am driven to see people succeed. Like, I'm driven. I've been a dream maker my whole life. What are you dreaming about? Like, what's waking you up at 2:00 in the morning, and what are you thinking you got to do? Because you need people around you to do it. And I've got a great partner in Bloom Growth. I've shaped it, and I started a lot of businesses at young. I've started 14, and I failed at a lot, and thrilled to find the Bloom Growth system, because I've overlaid that system on a couple things now. And it's just been a huge thing to really, I've just been really found a little bit of secret sauce of how to get communication and execution back into companies. And it's something that's missing. And for all the folks who have been, just working inside that business, there's a path of freedom of organization and process that can really work. And there's a framework, and it's been proven out now by over 45,000 companies and over hundreds of thousands of leaders that have gone through, and you can have it. It's not this thing. It's not this holy grail that you'll never get. I mean, and there's people in this world who have found it, and you can have it too. And so that's where I work with the 1%. If you're in business and it's primarily around growth, right? Everyone wants that valuation, and like every goal I've ever done in my life, right? If Gary says, "Hey, this is what my goal is," he tells me. And then we build the timeline of when this is realistic. And then we reverse engineer back, like what it's going to take. What do we have right now today? This is our baseline. This is current reality. This is future reality. And all we're doing simply is just reverse engineering that back and stepping that process out of exactly what those milestones are and what that's going to look like. And then it's all documented inside Bloom Growth, which is crazy, because when Gary goes, "Hey, listen, I want $100 million for my company, this little part of my company I'm selling," he goes, this is what we were, and this is our valuation, and it's all documented there. So the PE firm goes, "Of course we're going to give you $100 million. In fact, now we have 3 PE firms that really want this $100 million. So they're competing. So I love a horse race, because then Gary gets 120, because they know it's turnkey, because they have it all documented. He's already proven the systems. They just need to expand on the systems. And so they overpay for it, because they're competing and they want what he has. So that's how I create a bunch of value.
I love it. And so, and that's we're always working on this, right? Because we're building, we're starting a business like every year, and maybe it's on average every 10 months now we're starting a new business. And when we start new businesses, it's based on, who are we, what are we trying to build first, right? What's the market we're trying to serve? How do we serve with the greatest innovation in the world? And how do we look to the best in the world in that industry, whatever it is, right? How do we exceed all expectations and to really accomplish a moonshot, right? A moonshot within 10 years. How do we build something that's second to none in the world in that industry? Now, it doesn't always happen that you get to the moonshot, but boy, if you're 80% of the way there, you're a lot further than what anybody else would think you'd be, right? In 8 years. And so, where are you today, right? Is what you look at. What's that moonshot? And then the Bloom Growth strategy is in the middle of that. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, I mean, that's exactly what it is. And I think Nick Saban was like, he sets that. He sets that high expectation for everyone, like the Rabine group does, right? We're shooting for the stars. And listen, if we don't make it, by the way, we do land on the moon. It's much closer. Like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We have stars capacity here. And by the way, some of these are going to hit the stars. We're going to hit them. And it's pretty awesome. And so look at how many guys in the NFL is that guy placed, right? Because, hey, come in and I'll show you how to reach the stars. They don't do everything like, well, I just reached the moon. I just played in the NFL for 5 years.
I
You're
love
not
it.
bad.
And so,
Bad.
how do people get a hold of you to say,
Yeah.
I want this this kind of,
Yeah, please.
this guy with a little bit of energy, right? This Trent guy, a little bit of energy, a little bit of success, kind of fairly passionate guy, right? How do I get this guy to be my coach? How do you go about that? And what should people do?
Yeah, call me. Call me, 480-710-3712. I know I give out my cell phone. That's crazy, right?
Wait. Listen, say it again. You said too fast for people to hear. That's a trick.
480-710-3712 is my cell phone. If you're a moron, I'm going to block you. So don't be a moron, right? But like you can reach out to me, Trent at leadershipity.com. Like we talk about these itties, right? Like this is what we want. And everybody wants all these itties in their leaders. And we want accountability. We want responsibility. We want integrity. And we want that coachability, adaptability, responsibility, dependability in our families, in our employees. And we want, equity. We want that. And of course, we all want productivity ultimately, but we got to build these steps. So I built that kind of pyramid of what those itties are that we really got to get to that productivity, which ultimately gets us our results. But man, you and I both know there's a long road to results. And I put up in every company I work for, I ask them, put up this postage. You are responsible for your results. I love the Bill Belichick line. I'll know we have a great team when everyone on the team knows their role and they're doing it. Because that's where I'm going to start inside an organization is like, does everybody know their role and are they doing it? They're not even being held accountable to it for most of it. If they know it.
Say that one more time. That Bill Belichick said.
Bill Belichick, I'll know I got a great team. I'll know I have a great team when everybody on the team knows their role and they're doing it. So they are taking responsible for their role and they are contributing to the whole by doing what they're responsible for. And, Gary, this is the conversation, right, we have with the boys, right? I make $100,000 and here's the 10 things that I'm responsible for. This is my role and I'm responsible for these 10 things. But you know what? I've neglected 2 of these because I don't like them and sometimes they're really hard. And so like, I paid you $100,000 and you only contribute to 8 of the 10. So do you want 8 things and make $80,000 or do you want to contribute the whole thing? Because I honored my agreement by paying you what we said would be the role and responsibility, and then you didn't do your role and responsibility. And this is what I think we're having a
simple point.
It's simple, right? But like we're having a whole gap. We're having a whole gap with people about why am I not getting a bonus?
Yeah.
Here's your roles and responsibilities.
So every time I talk to you, man, I could talk to you for hours and days, dude. You're such a blast to hang out with.
I love it.
And really just you drive anyone to I think the levels they wouldn't be otherwise, and that's what leaders are, right? If we're a leader, hopefully we're inspiring other people to go further than they would otherwise without us in their lives. And man, you do that every day. So it's so fun to talk to you, hang out with you. Chris usually comes in at the end here and makes some comments of the things he learned and the little nuggets of wisdom and nuggets to success that he picks up. Chris, what do you got from Trent? I know there wasn't a lot here, and Trent's a little slow. You got to drive him to talk about these things, but help us, Chris. What'd you get out of this?
Yeah, Trent, this was awesome, man. Really super inspiring. The way you communicate it is very clear as well. I'm sure that has attributed to a ton of your success, on and off the various sports surfaces that you play on. So some of my favorite takeaways, I loved your framework for hiring aces, all the different abilities, coachability, adaptability, responsibility, dependability. I loved your philosophy of not taking advice from people who have not done what you want to do. I think so many people give up on their dreams because some, jerk at the gas station said he couldn't do that, and that guy's never done anything. So that's brilliant advice. If you have 3 paper routes, hire 3 friends to deliver them, netting you $2 per day while you play football. Hey, why not? Customer loyalty comes from consistency and going far beyond the standard. That's brilliant as well. Constantly acquire new skills so you're ready to pivot when the market changes. I can't imagine like more important advice right now as, not only like how fast everything is changing, but like how much faster everything seems to be continuing to change as well. And then probably my favorite thing that you shared with us today is like, don't be afraid to set absolutely ridiculous goals. Because you hit them and everyone's like, that's crazy. You shouldn't even set those goals. And if you hadn't set them, you wouldn't have accomplished them. So, don't be afraid.
I love it, Chris. And a few things I picked up additional is, the 2 things that create, the 1%, the hyper learners. Yeah, you gotta be hyper. You want to learn fast. If you're passionate about something, learn fast. And then self discipline, right? You gotta learn fast, but you have to have self discipline. If you don't have those 2 things, it's going to be a slower process for sure. And ask for mentorship, as you mentioned too, Chris. Ask for mentorship from the people that are world class, and it might be tough, but in today's world, it's way easier to find those mentors than ever before. It's way easier to connect with those mentors that actually have lived world class experiences in industries that you want to be part of. Somebody that's done what you want to do. What a great point. And then the pain exchange also I liked. If you understand the pain of work ethic today, right? To eliminate hopefully the pain of regret in the future. Do the right thing. If it's work ethic, dedicate a little more time, energy to something now that's maybe a little painful, but in the long run, you won't have that pain of regret in the future. I love that as well. So, just love having you on, Trent. I really appreciate your time today because you're going to be another inspiration to our listeners that you just don't run across every day. And I want to talk to you more about some of our businesses, what we're doing to grow them, and how you might think about coaching a couple of our leaders and CEOs to get to where we need to get them to. So we'll talk about that offline. But anybody that wants to understand what you do, I don't know many people at your level with your success that throw that cell phone out there, and I respect that in a big way because not many people will do that. So thanks for that as well. Any other anything from you, Trent, to finish up?
Yeah, I'm just saying thank you for having me. I think it's been such a great day. And I think we talk about effort a lot, right? And I have 2 things about effort, and both coming from 2 people I really admire and respect. Roger Staubach, there's no traffic jams along the extra mile. I love that quote.
Wow.
And I think about that. We're Chicago kids, right, Gary? So we grew up in that business, and like when you leave the office at 5:00. Out to where we lived in the burbs, that's, an hour and a half. But at 7:00, that's no problem. That's 42 minutes. Just like it's, you're 40 miles away. And at 6 a.m., it's 40 minutes. At 8 a.m., it's an hour and a half. And so, there's no traffic jams along the extra mile. And then, another Ken Manny quote that I love, it's in my book, right, is don't just go the extra mile, build your house on it. And Gary, you and I have been blessed to have some really good contacts in that 1% category. And, when you see where they live and where they built their houses, you realize, ooh, this is what the house looks like on the extra mile, because they're pretty nice, man. Like we know a lot of people who have like the basketball courts in their house and blah, blah, blah. Like it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. So like, I'm telling you, the extra mile is billionaire row. And so everyone's got that in their little neighborhood, and you want to go and you want to drive that. Well, now you look what you'll know exactly what the extra mile looks like, because the people who live there were all willing to go the extra mile.
Absolutely. You know, I'm blessed to be in a subdivision, and I live in a beautiful area in Illinois, and then also in Florida and Naples, where I'm full time now. And that the neighborhood has an abundance of billionaires, right? Abundance of billionaires, which is crazy, right?
It's
More billionaires
it's silly, yeah.
than I think any subdivision maybe in the country. But the bottom line is, who are they? And it's so much fun. You work out the gym, you play tennis with these people, you find out they've had some amazing success, and whether they're billionaires or they're just top 1%ers, their stories are inspirational if they tell them, and many of them will in that environment, because you're just a neighbor or whatever. But boy, we need to hear those stories more often, inspire this American dream to be as abundant as we know it can be. Because when American dream is accessible and abundant, our country is the strongest in the world, and it will stay that way. And so, boy, that I love that the extra mile. It's such a no-brainer, man. That's we need to strive for that, to live on that extra mile, even if we can. But so thank you so much for joining us, and again, I look forward to our friendship growing in the future. Really appreciate you as a friend, and in the future we're going to do some cool things together. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
And then now, thank you everybody for being here with us today to enjoy this amazing friend of mine. Trent Clark is a special person, and thank you for being here and listening today. Thanks for joining us always. And until next time, remember this, right? The world needs ditch diggers. The world needs you, hardworking men and women with a vision to make a positive impact building your American dream. May God bless you, your family, this country, and your American dream. Thank you. Appreciate it.